There was a man named Emeka. He was a very hard-working man who lived in the northern part of Nigeria. He worked so hard to be the man he is today. Emeka is a handsome young man who owns a cream shop in Kano. Emeka had an opportunity to travel to America with the help of his friend. Emeka was lucky to enter America through another country. Someone helped him get his paper and have been working very hard doing all sorts of odd jobs just to make it. He didn't school much, so he worked as a cleaner in different hotels for a very long time. One day, Emeka's mother called him and said, "My son, I'm not getting younger. My mates have their grandchildren, and I don't have much time left because of my illness. I want you to come back and marry a wife to give us grandchildren." Emeka then promised his mother that he would get a wife. He then decided it was time to go back home and marry the woman chosen for him. The name of the girl was Nneka. Nneka and her parents were very excited. They did the traditional rite and did the white wedding. It was the talk of the town, and those moments were so beautiful for Emeka and Nneka and their respective families. After the honeymoon, Emeka left for America so that he could start processing Nneka's papers while she moved into one of his houses and even put her in charge of his property, where she was collecting rent to support herself and her family. Emeka also enrolled Nneka in a university to prepare for easy employment in America. She did very well and graduated with good results. Emeka was so happy with this development. Emeka became more active in making her papers just on time. Her visa was finally out, her flight booked, and she arrived in America. Emeka was so happy and spent more time with her at home, taking her places and introducing her to his friends. A few months later, with his connection, he helped her secure a very good job, with far better pay than his, where she started making money and earning more than Emeka in a short time. It was 3 years gone since Nneka came to America, and she couldn't get pregnant for Emeka. Emeka's mother and her parents were very worried and brought them different herbal remedies for them to take, not knowing she was taking pills all along to avoid getting pregnant for Emeka. One faithful day, Emeka was cleaning and went outside to take out the trash and dirt and found some empty packs of tablets in the trash. He picked up one of the packs and took it to the pharmacist and asked what the drug was used for, and he was told about the drugs. He then kept an eye on his wife, only to discover her big secret, that every night, after making up with her, she was always going to the bathroom to take these particular pills. Not only taking the pills, he also found out his wife was having an affair with one of her colleagues where she works. Emeka was hurt and asked her why she did it. She didn't even act remorseful, but instead asked him for a divorce and that his assets be shared with her. She even called him a dirty cleaner and said to him, "I have been tolerating this marriage only because of my parents." Emeka begged and cried, saying, "I have always loved you and never for once cheated on you nor ever raised my hand on you. I've always wanted the best for you, but this is how you pay me back. She always comes late to the house, not doing anything in the house, and different cars come to drop her off." She was no longer greeting her husband again. This continued for months, so Emeka decided to tell his mother about her behavior and what she did, not to get pregnant. Emeka's mother was upset and reported the matter to her parents. They were all very angry and called her and talked to her, but she didn't listen to them. Months after months, both families concluded that Emeka should move on because he was a very good man. But Emeka, still in love with his wife, decided to try one last time. He then cooked dinner for her so they could talk, but she replied, "I ate already before coming home. I'm not hungry. It's all over between us. I need a divorce." Emeka tried to get close to her and reminded her of the good times, but she shouted and said she would call the police on him. The next morning, she packed her bags and walked out the door and never looked back home again. Emeka was alone and devastated for months, till he made up his mind to forget about her and move on. Months passed, no word from her. Months went by, and Emeka decided to go back to school to study. It was tough, but Emeka was determined. He had to work part-time so that he could have time to study. While in school, Emeka came across a young woman named Bola. Bola was in her final year, studying design and management, and she was very pretty, soft-spoken, and polite. They both got along fine, and often they go to the movies together. They grew very fond of each other because there was hardly a day they didn't see each other. By the time Bola graduated, Emeka proposed to her, and she said yes. Emeka went to seek Bola's parents' permission to marry her, and he got their blessing. They had a simple but pleasant wedding ceremony, and within a couple of months, Bola was pregnant with twins. This was fantastic news for Emeka, and Emeka couldn't wait to give the news to their parents. They were living happily, and everything was going according to plan. Bola put to birth, safely giving birth to a boy and a girl, and they all celebrated. Emeka couldn't have been prouder, and to think that he has been wasting his time with someone who didn't love him back all these years. Emeka was happy. Things didn't work out between him and Nneka because he had been blessed with Bola. One day, Emeka was watching the TV when he discovered on the news about his former wife, Nneka, how she was arrested with a guy by the police for possession of drugs. Although Emeka felt sorry for her, this was not surprising to Emeka because Nneka had shown that she would do anything for money. Of course, there was nothing he could do to help her. Nneka and her drug baron boyfriend were tried and found guilty. They were each sentenced to 5 years in prison. Years passed, and Emeka had finished his studies and was working as a well-paid accountant in an accounting firm, while Bola worked only part-time to have time to take care of their children who were now in their final year in primary school. They lived in their new home in the suburban area of the city. After a while, Bola gets offered a full-time job at a company. This means they may have to look for a nanny for their kids. Emeka suggested that Bola should wait till the kids are in secondary school before accepting a full-time job. That way, they would not have to search for a nanny for the kids. Bola explained that this is an opportunity of a lifetime, as this was her dream job, and 1 or 2 years is a long time to wait. And besides, she is not getting any younger. If she waits too long, she might never get a shot at such an opportunity because she might be considered too old for the position. Emeka gave it some thought and agreed, so they put out an advert for a nanny and waited for different candidates to apply. They waited a couple of days and they didn't get any applicants. Some weeks passed and still no applicant. Just when they had almost given up, the phone rang, and as Bola answered the phone, there was a woman's voice on the other side of the line. The woman said she was interested in taking up the nanny job, so Bola booked an interview appointment with her for Thursday evening, when her husband would be at home. That way, they can both conduct the interview together. Thursday evening came, and Emeka and Bola were at home waiting for their applicant. After a while, the doorbell rang. Emeka was in the kitchen getting some fruit drink from the fridge, so Bola went to answer the door. She greeted the woman and asked her to come in and sit down. Bola told her to wait a while for her husband to come out from the kitchen into the living room before they could start the interview. As Emeka came out of the kitchen into the living room, he was shocked by who was sitting in their living room waiting to be interviewed for a job. The woman too was even more shocked to see Emeka. Surprised at the situation, Bola asked Emeka what was going on. It turns out that the applicant for the job of a nanny was none other than Nneka, Emeka's ex-wife, who had maltreated, abused, and abandoned him when he needed her the most.